Very important thing about the bass drum is the way you strike it, okay? You can see that I have several mallets here, and I'll talk about how I use those. But when you strike the bass drum, you don't go like this. You either start at the bass drum like that and come out, and a lot of times you use what's called a glancing blow. See how I'm moving like this? Okay, so it's kind of, you play up like that. If you wanted to stop the bass drum, that's what this is for. This is called dampening or muffling. And one thing you want to know is when you're dampening or muffling anything, where you do it depends on how much dampening you get. Let's say this is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, all right? I'm gonna dampen at 9 o'clock. So you can still hear some ringing. 12 o'clock. So if I wanted to just muffle, listen to what happens. See how dead that is? When I muffle straight across, now listen. It's muffled, but not as much. Listen to it as I go here. So the more you go towards exactly straight across from where you're playing, the more muffling you're going to get. Dampening is just, I would suggest if you can go right across from where you're playing. And you want to be careful with this thing. Sometimes you put them on the drum and they vibrate, so you want to be careful with that. I don't like to use a towel, personally. I like to use my hand. And again, the pads. Okay, so if I wanted to dampen the most, I dampen here. Hear that? The difference? Okay? So a glancing blow to hit. And you want to make sure you stay off the head, because when you leave the mallet on the head, you kill the sound. See? You have another head on the other side of the drum when you're dampening. If you want to stop the drum, you want to touch both heads like that. What I'm doing, I'm hitting it and I'm touching both sides of the drum at the same time. You can't see it on the other side, but I'm doing the same thing. And now stop the drum, because this will keep vibrating. Listen. Hear it? So that's very important. If I was playing something a little bit lighter, I'd use a smaller mallet. This one gets a little more into the drum. This one's a little war, so it's getting a kind of a ticky sound. So I would go like this and use the soft part, like that. But something that's very important when you're playing tam-tams, bass drum, or any instrument that vibrates a lot, you always want to be parallel to the instrument. Your stick has to be parallel when you play, okay? Because you're going to get the maximum amount of surface area. If you start going like this, listen to what happens. You don't get as much surface area. That's called tipping. That is a technique that's used if you want to get softer with the same mallet. I've got some mallets here for rolling. They're smaller. Notice what happens here, they vibrate. So what you want to do is you want to go on opposite sides of the drum. Okay. To me, that's too much articulation. So I would go like this. Sustained sound. Now, you notice I have two different mallets. Sometimes we don't have the same mallet. So what I did is I took the mallet that gives me the most oomph, and I stuck it in my weaker hand, my left hand. And the other one I stuck in my right hand. And it kind of balances it out then. But when you roll, you want to be on opposite sides. You don't want to be like this. You don't want to be like this. Because you get too much articulation. You want to be like this. Okay? Just like on the timpani with a forte piano roll. See how I hit and I snuck in? The sound keeps going. You don't have to go. You're actually killing the sound